don't just go spend money just to get points. One tip is cards oftentimes will offer you crazy welcome bonuses, but they'll always have like strings attached. Like the Amex Platinum gives you like 120,000 for joining, but you got to spend like 30,000 over 6 months. So just always be aware that you're hitting those targets, and those points are usually delivered right away. And my biggest tip would be like start as soon as you can. Like this is free money out there for you. I don't know how you want to use it, but maybe it takes a few years to accumulate 100,000 points or something. That's still a free trip that you otherwise wouldn't have had.
You're listening to The Growth Booth, the show focused on achieving lifestyle freedom through online businesses. Whether you're looking for step-by-step strategies to start building an online business, simple game plans to grow your business, or proven lifestyle freedom frameworks, you are in the right place. Stay tuned and be sure to join the thousands of listeners already in growth mode. Hey everyone, Aidan Booth here. Welcome to episode number 69 of The Growth Booth, where today we're talking about what is quickly becoming one of my favorite topics, and that is credit card hacking. Now, if you don't know what that is, then you're in for a treat today, because you're about to learn from an absolute master of credit card hacks. This is a guy that travels the world completely free. I guess the credit card companies probably pay for him, and the banks pay for him to live it up in business class, sometimes first class, and not just airlines either. So Sean Agnew, who's been on the show a few times, and many of you listeners may be familiar with already, is here, and he is our in-house expert. So Sean, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm always happy to talk about this topic.
How many credit cards do you have?
Well, now I've pared it down a little bit since I've been in the process of relocating the business from Canada to America there. But I think last year, right around this time, I think I had 8 on the Canadian side and 4 on the American. I think I had 12 total. I think I've pared that down now to about 6.
You can fit them in a wallet still. Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have like a wallet, and then I have a whole like bucket of them like behind me.
Yeah. You wouldn't fit them in a wallet if you live down in Argentina, because you'd probably have a big wad of cash in there as well. It's a cash economy down here. And sometimes I find myself taking cards out just because the cash down here. I'll give you an example, and this is a little bit off track, but the largest cash denomination is 1,000 pesos, which is the equivalent of $2.50 American. So you can imagine, if you want to have $50 or something in your wallet, you've got to have quite a lot of those notes in there, and takes up a lot of room, man. So credit cards, they are the way to go. And it's not just about rewards either. There are other benefits to using credit cards that sort of came to mind. So protection. I'm not sure if you've used this benefit before, but I just had a friend who was traveling around in Argentina, and he rented a car from Alamo car rentals, and he returned the car, and they said to him, "Oh, you've screwed the car over. You're going to have to pay thousands of dollars to get it fixed." And he told me that he returned the car and it was an absolute fine condition, and he paid for it with his Amex. And that was from Amex from the United States, and he got on the phone with Amex, and they said, "Look, don't worry, we've got your back here." If he had paid for that in cash, he would have, sort of been screwed. I don't know how they would have got the cash out of him if he had done that, but there's a bit of protection there. Have you ever used the protection side of your cards?
Yeah, so that's one of the benefits about having 12 different cards is you're pretty much covered for just about every protection that's out there. Like I have some cards that I have specifically because they give me like free Wi-Fi on an airplane, and I have other cards that will give me 2 weeks of travel insurance if I book on that card, and I have another card that obviously I will book my rental cars from because I get free car insurance. And there's numerous benefits. Some cards give you higher points on gas, some cards give you more points on like your meals. So it's always good to diversify as much as you can, because there are a lot of benefits that you can have.
Obviously, there's the convenience factor if you're paying with a card, and I think this is pretty much global. Yeah. Argentina is probably the last standing economy that still operates in cash, but there's the convenience factor. There's also building credit, so improving your credit score. I'm not sure if this is something that you've sort of consciously thought of when you've been using your cards or not.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously in order to get like 12 cards, you have to have a decent amount of credit score. I don't have like the credit score formula here, but I know a bunch of the way that you get a higher score is, not utilizing your total, value across all cards, right? So if you have, I don't know, $100,000
And paying it back on time.
card, correct. If you have $100,000 in credit cards and you have like a $5,000 balance, you're gonna have a better score than somebody who has like a $70,000 balance, right? So,
Right.
yeah, my score has been great since having all these cards. It doesn't seem to impact it at all.
Yeah, I think if someone is actively trying to build up a bit of credit, credit cards can be a good way to do it. You show that you're a responsible consumer and so forth, and then that gets tracked by the banks, and it can open up new lines of credit. And I remember going back sort of 20 years ago when I was starting my online business, I was I was using credit cards and stuff, and from time to time the banks would actually reach out to me and say, hey, we can up your limit to X amount, and I was like, oh, okay. And that was just because of the credit score being built. But the main benefit that I want to talk to you about, and God, we've spent so many hours talking about this because you really are the master here, are the points and the rewards. So, how did you first get interested or sort of become aware of the fact that you could use your credit cards and hack the heck out of them to, get so many benefits?
Well, what's interesting is that I wish I knew this, or I wish somebody was giving me this talk like a decade ago, because I've spent a lot of money, multiple seven figures on ads, e-commerce, stores, whatever. And if I had have taken the time period between like 2013 and 2020, I mean, there was a 7-year period where I wasn't using my credit card points like at all to the best of their ability. And it was after COVID when I was finally allowed to leave the country, which is a weird thing to think about. But, after a year of like being stuck in Canada, I was actually at an event down in Florida. And one of my buddies that I hadn't seen in a couple of years was telling me, I was like, Tim, how the hell are you traveling here and there and everywhere? And he's like, dude, you got to get this card, you got to get that card. And he actually gave a quick like 10, 20-minute presentation to all of the individuals that were in our little mastermind there. And like the second I went home, I was like, man, I wasted so many years just not spending points properly. So ever since that moment in time, I guess pretty much the last 2.5 years or so, once I made the switch, I haven't paid for an international flight ever. I'm coming down to see you in the end of May there, and I'm not, I'm taking my girlfriend with me, and it's 100% free. That's 14 hours. 14 hours. So that's be awesome. Nice. A nice little like lie flat seat. I mean, I got to pay the tax on it. I think the tax was like $104 or something, but
I'll take that. Recently Sean and I were in Las Vegas catching up with one another, and I paid $8,000 to get to Vegas. Like, what the hell? Flights have gone mental, and you probably traveled there for $100. So,
I was telling you about it at lunch with Steve. I was like,
exactly,
you guys got to get this card. You got to get that card. What are you doing? Stop paying for flights.
So you heard a presentation, and I guess you could say that the penny dropped. At that point, you've been, really doubling down on this ever since. Now, for someone who's like brand new to credit card hacks, what are some of the basic things that they should know to get started? Like you mentioned a few things a few moments ago. For example, you can have one card which is good for getting free Wi-Fi, another card is good for something else. Maybe you could explain a little bit about what that is and just some of the basics to get us going here.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, like, don't extend yourself if you can't, and what I'm doing might not be, available to the average person out there. I totally understand that. But even if you, have one credit card with like a $5,000 limit on it, if you're using the right card, it's still much more beneficial than using whatever card you have in your pocket. A lot of cards, you might get a credit card for free, and you get like nothing out of it, right? So you spend all this money at the end of the year. It's like, oh, here's, you got 10,000 points, and then you cash that in for like $100 check, and it's like the worst value you can possibly get. So what I would do is, it really depends on your lifestyle. Like, I am practically addicted to travel. I think it had to do with COVID and being like locked down for 18 months and the second I was able to like leave, and I went to 5 out of the 7 continents last year, and not having to pay for those flights, it was like I absolutely love it. So I look for cards that are going to maximize my points for international first class travel, and we can talk about that as we go along. But maybe you're not at that point in your life, and you're like, hey, I don't really want to travel first class. I don't, have that vacation time. It's not within my budget, whatever. You should still be maximizing the cards to save on, like, get points for groceries. There are cards that give you like 5x points at the grocery store. Instead of paying with your debit card, you pull out your credit card on that $100 grocery bill, you get 500 points instead of nothing. The debit card is almost the worst thing that you can ever pay with. I understand I want to make sure you're responsible. Don't max out your credit card bill. But the credit card actually gives you a bonus for using it. So as long as you're responsible, you can have cards that are giving you points for groceries, that are giving you points for gas, that are giving you points at the movie theater, whatever it may be. And at the end of the year, you might find yourself with 30, 40, 50,000 points. And maybe it's not an international trip, but maybe you live in Florida and you want to go to Vegas, and bing, bang, boom, you get a free plane and a free 4-night stay that you otherwise wouldn't have had. So I think it's critical just to look at like your lifestyle and look at the cards that are out there that fit that lifestyle and start using those.
This episode is brought to you by Cartsy. Cartsy is an all-in-one e-commerce shopping platform that can help you build an e-commerce business in record time. It provides you with all the bells and whistles that you need to get started selling your own products online, and it's incredibly easy to use, built for newbies who want to grow an online business without all the hassles and headaches that come with other shopping platforms. If you'd like to learn more about Cartsy and take advantage of a special offer that we've set up, and I can do that because I'm actually the owner of Cartsy, then head over to thegrowthbooth.com/Cartsy. That's spelled C-A-R-T-Z-Y. That's thegrowthbooth.com/Cartsy, and get more information about how we can help you build an e-commerce business and how you can unlock the power of Cartsy today. Now back over to the episode. And so how do you accumulate points then?
Yeah, so for me, it's quite easy. I run a marketing and advertising business, so the 2 cards that I use in my business quite strictly at the beginning of the year are the Amex Business Gold and the Chase Business Preferred card. Both of those cards on your first $150,000 in ad spend will give you 4x points.
Is it just ad spend or is it any spend?
It's so they have different categories that they'll give you 4x spend on for Amex and 3x spend for the Chase card. And it's on the first $150K you spend. So, obviously I don't expect everybody watching this podcast is going to go out there and spend $150K. But if you did, you would use your Amex card to spend the $150K, then you would switch to the Chase and you would max out the $150K there. And there are different categories, one of them being ad spend. And so obviously I have an advertising business. I toss the cards in the Google ads account I have. And after $300,000 in ad spend every single year, I'm left with 1.05 million points.
That's awesome. And I know that if someone's listening to this and, you've made the point a couple of times already, but it doesn't matter if you don't have, huge amount of ad spend. You can still do this on a smaller scale. And I bet you, save, $5,000, $10,000 or get $5,000 or $10,000 worth of something in rewards just for the average Joe if you know what you're doing here. So
sounds let me give you an example on that, actually, if you don't mind me jumping in there. Like Steve was telling me about the Park Hyatt in Japan, because I'm going to Tokyo this year with Jacqueline. And he was saying, you got to stay at the Park Hyatt. It's this famous hotel in downtown Tokyo. It was in a movie, whatever. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll check it out. And that hotel goes for something like $1,000 a night, US dollars. It's just crazy, right? But the World of Hyatt credit card that you can go get gives you a 60,000 point welcome bonus for joining. And do you know how many points per night that it costs for a room at the Park Hyatt in Tokyo? 20,000. So just by going to sign up for that card, you got to meet some conditions, right, to get the 60,000. You're just like, we'll give you 60,000 if you spend X amount over 90 days or whatever it is. But they're giving you 3 nights at a Tokyo hotel that's worth $3,000. So just those little things that anybody could do go a long way.
And that hotel, by the way, is worth the effort. I've stayed in there. I stayed there for about a week. Nice. Yeah, it's something else. The views are amazing. The bedrooms have got all kinds of technology that I couldn't even, figure out how to use. It is Tokyo, after all. And that extends into the bathroom, where everything in the bathroom does all kinds of different things that you don't expect it to do or don't know how to control. But it's a lot of fun, and the hotel's amazing. And that's a great point. Like you've seen an opportunity to get a card. It's pretty. It's not difficult for you to get it. It's going to save you equivalent of $3,000 from a get-go just for doing nothing, basically. Yep. And it sounds like you're able to pass a lot of the business expenses through these cards. So you're spending the money. You have to spend the money anyway, and the points are, the bonus, the reward, the icing on the cake.
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes I made is I used to, and understand we're all at different levels in our business and life, but one thing I did when I started doing really, really well in business, 2017, 2018, I'm starting, okay, I'm doing really, really well here. Things are good. And I have this card in Canada. I have a US dollar Visa in Canada. And all I'm doing is just taking the cash value of my points. So if I have 50,000 points, that might be worth $500 in cash, which is, it's $500 in cash. I'm not going to complain about it. But guess what? In Canada, they tax that as income on your business. So that 50,000 points is actually taxed at 50%. So that $500 becomes $250. And it's I know now, maybe not right now, gas prices and things like that, but I know last year there were first class one-way flights that were $8,000 to Barcelona that I could take for 50,000 points. So do I want the $8,000 flight, or do I want the $500 that's going to get taxed at 50%, right? So it's just such a huge mistake, and credit card companies, they want you to take the cash because the other things that you use it for are much more expensive for them.
Yeah, I bet they're losing money on you. Well, yeah, I mean, you're spending a lot of money with them, but I would say you're in that 0.1% of the population that really knows how to leverage the heck out of these cards. And I think every single person listening to this can also be in that 0.1%. You don't have to have huge spend to be able to do this. Where do you go to find out about benefits? Like you say, you're going to Tokyo, going to go to the Park Hyatt. How did you know that existed? Did you do a Google search? Did you ask some AI technology or something?
Well, yeah. I mean, nowadays I could probably just go to ChatGPT and be like, find me the best credit card that's going to get me 3 nights at the Hyatt in Tokyo, in probably 2 seconds it's done. But nowadays, I've been doing this for 3 years, right? I'm a point hacker. I already know the cards I should have set up in my business. I don't usually use hotel cards too often, but I'm also still, I grew up in relative poverty, so I'm still a little frugal. I was like, I don't want to spend $1,000 a night on a hotel. Got to be a better way. So I started Googling around. I know there are Hyatt credit cards, and I just sort of came across it on, one of the websites I jumped across. I went to the website. I applied for the card. I got the card. I booked the 3 nights at the hotel. There you go, right? So it's just a simple Google search. There's a wealth of information out there on there. There's the Points Guy is a good website to check out. That guy's dedicated his whole life. If you think I'm this guy's eats, sleeps, and breathes this stuff. But there's a couple YouTube channels out there I can't think of off the top of my head, but just simple Google search. Ask ChatGPT how to get a cheap first class flight with points to wherever you want to go in the world and see what comes up. I bet you that'll be the fastest way nowadays.
What about when you're going to the supermarket? Do you have a special card that you use there?
Yeah.
Do you distinguish between the personal expenses, like going to the supermarket, and the business expenses?
Yeah. So my accountant, my accountant not so much. I think my bookkeeper probably hates me a little bit. They're probably vastly underpaid for the amount of nonsense I put them through, because I will mix stuff. And I know you're probably not supposed to, but receipts are receipts and whatever. Because I do have some cards. Yeah, my personal card gives me 5x points on gas. None of my business cards come close. So it's okay, if I want to charge gas to the business here, I'm going to use my personal card. I want the points. And my bookkeeper's like, you gotta stop doing that, dude. I'm like, but I need the points. And he's like, how many points did you get? You got 300 points. I'm like, hey, they add up, But then my business card gives me really good points on meals, entertainment, groceries, and stuff. So I'll often use that to go buy groceries. So it can be a little mixy, but I sometimes I even forget. But I literally, I don't have my phone in front of me, but I have a Google Notes where I have the cards and then what points I get for each sort of thing. So that when I'm at the store, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one I got to use for the movies or whatever, so I can max out the points.
We'll make sure that you fill up the tank before you drive us down to the Formula One, which is actually going to be happening this week when this episode is published. So, because that's definitely a business expense right there. Now, that kind of led me on to my next question: is how do you track and manage this? I mean, do you have like little post-it notes? Do you write on the back of each card? What's your strategy there? What's your system?
I mean, I used to have like a Google sheet that I would like religiously fill out. And, it's a little weird as an entrepreneur. Like, I don't like the tedious tasks, but I really love credit card points. I'll sit there, hours on end, just like typing out these points. And then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Like, Amex is probably right. I'm not going to track this stuff anymore, But what I was doing the other day, and what I'm going to do going forward is like, okay, where am I traveling this year? What's the lay of the land now? And points have sort of gone up a little bit. Like to go to Japan, for example, I saw last year was like 150,000 points, and now it's like 225,000 points. And so I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go to Japan. And, I might bring my girlfriend with me to that one. So I got to pay for 2 flights. And like, I'm going to Buenos Aires now in June or whatever. And I'm going to Portugal. And you try to like look at that. And it's like, okay, I need like 1.5 million points. And like, when am I going to get that? And just sort of like make a note to myself. But, Amex.
You do like a forecast, business forecast for the points.
Pretty much, man. Yeah, that's exactly what that's like, right? And then, you get the points on your Amex, and then Amex partners with like all these different airlines, and it's like a 1-to-1 point ratio. So if I want to book a flight through Air Canada, I just transfer some points from Amex over to Air Canada. If I want to book it with Singapore Air, Emirates was the one I took last year, which was like a $14,000 flight. It was the A380, the largest plane in the world. I had my own suite. When you get on a plane, sometimes you'll get like a menu, right? And they'll be like, okay, you can pick the chicken or the steak. And you're like, okay, give me the steak. They had a book. And it was like, do I want a filet mignon? Do I want an omelet? Like, do I want a creme brulee? Do I want Dom Perignon? Like, it was ridiculous.
It must be nice. You look across the aisle to the other suite, and the other guy paid 14 grand. And, and you're cruising along thanks to the points.
Sweet. It was sweet. I think I paid like 140,000 points to it. So it was like a 1,400 cash value amount of points for like a $14,000 flight. It was just like unbelievable. If you ever get a chance to be on an A380 in the first class suite, like I would have never dreamt that for myself, and I didn't pay for it. I think a few $100 in taxes or whatever.
So my story with the A380 is I flew from Paris to Sydney, Australia, and I booked the flight. So the Malaysian flight crashed and went down, right? No one knew where it went, whatever that flight was. And so that happened, and then I had this big trip coming up, and I was having a look around, and Malaysian had an A380, which went from Paris to Sydney, Australia, and I was like, okay, well the other flight was pretty bad luck, but I'll try my luck and I'll go in this A380 because they had been known for their amazing quality and service before the plane went missing. And then I booked my flight with Malaysian, and like the very next week, the Russians shot the next Malaysian jet out of the fly, and I was like, holy crap, 2 Malaysian jets are down now, and I'm traveling pretty soon. But anyway, it worked out okay, and I think I got a really good.
Yeah, you still took it, eh?
I got a really good deal because because of all the hassle that they had. But I wasn't in a suite there. I was just in regular business class, but even that was amazing. I mean, it was next level business class compared to pretty much any other, of the big luxury airlines. And I've travelled Qatar. As well, that wasn't an A380, but that was a long, like 30 hours or something of flying from Buenos Aires to Tokyo, and that was pretty good. But Malaysian was even better. I mean, there was basically like an assistant, I would almost say, that was like standing by my seat the whole time, and I was like, you don't have to. If you want to go and like rest or something, you can do that. You don't need to be sort of my on-demand assistant. I'll press the button if I need something, or I'll get out of my seat and go and do it. But they've got pretty amazing bathrooms and stuff, those planes as well. I don't know if you.
The one I had a shower in mine. They had 2 showers in first class. I literally booked one. They're like, "Do you want to? What time would you like to book your shower, sir?" And I was like, "Shower." I was like, "I guess I'll just have one to say I had a shower." You get like You get like 30 seconds of hot water. It's a horrible shower, right? But like you have to do it. Like you're on an airplane. Why not, right?
I'm talking about and having spoken to you about this in the past, it sounds like when you have to set up accounts, if you're using the points for the different airlines, you set up accounts with the loyalty programs of the different airlines. This is something you could get a VA to do, I guess, just to save some time if you wanted. You could say, set me up in a loyalty points account with British Airways, with American, with Delta, because then, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but you start accumulating all these points and you're like, okay, transfer these points from my Amex to British, and then once they're in British, you use those points to buy the British flight. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so your two main programs that you're going to use for airline travel that are just the best are Amex and Chase. And they have many of their airline partners overlap. I think Amex uses like Delta and Chase uses United or vice versa, something like that. But generally, when you're using those two cards, you just go to Google. A quick Google search will give you which partner airlines that both Chase and Amex partner with. And then you're going to want to go to all those airlines' websites and create free accounts. Air Canada, Virgin Air, British, Singapore Air, whatever, right? Etihad, KLM, for Air France. I pretty much know them all off by heart. But you go there and you create the free account. And then when you're ready to book a flight, you'll go, for example, when I was looking to go to Buenos Aires, I know that the only way to get there from Toronto is with Air Canada. So I go to Air Canada's website. I start looking at flights. I see how many points they cost. I look at different days. Do I want to connect? Do I not want to connect? Whatever. And then Air Canada says, okay, it's going to be this amount of points. I then go over to Amex and I send points over to Air Canada. It's like instant one-to-one transfer. 100,000 Amex points is 100,000.
That's amazing. I thought it would have been like a 24-hour delay to get into the system or something.
It's instant. It's instant, and then you can book the flight. And usually nowadays, with the way the laws are in America and Canada, you have like, I don't know how it is the rest of the world, but you got like 24 hours to cancel if you want to change your mind. But yeah, pretty simple process.
That's awesome. So you've mentioned that you use Chase and Amex for travel-related things, and they obviously work well with advertising spend. Are there any particular cards or reward programs that you might recommend to the average Joe who maybe doesn't do that much ad spend? Is there anything that comes to mind there that would be worth looking at? And obviously, it's going to vary all around the world, but we do have a lot of our listeners in the USA and Canada. So
yeah, specifically in America, I know that there's a really good Amazon card that gives you like 5% cash back on like all your Amazon Prime purchases, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it gives you free Amazon Fresh delivery. By the way, for my American listeners, as somebody who just like got a place down in Miami, I'm like addicted to Amazon Fresh. This thing's the greatest thing ever. It's like they have groceries like 30% cheaper than Whole Foods, and they deliver it right outside your door in like an hour. I don't know how the hell the Whole Foods even exists with that kind of service. It's unbelievable. But the Amazon credit card is a really, really good one. I just got that one recently. Like I said, it gives you cash back on all your Amazon orders, free Amazon Fresh delivery.
I think they give you like a couple $100 as credit or something, like free money when you get one as well. Because I see it getting advertised to me all the time. They're like, get the Amazon card and we'll give you like $200. And it might be different for different people in different parts of the world, but I keep seeing that.
Yeah, and I know one bad thing being as a Canadian is the same card in America that exists in Canada, like the Amex Business Gold in America gives you way more benefits, like 4x points on your ad spend. You get like 100,000 points for joining this and that. And the Amex Business Gold in Canada, they're like, yeah, you get nothing. It's just like horrible for whatever reason. But hotel cards, I don't necessarily recommend hotel cards if they're gonna, like, they have free ones. Or they have ones that are like $79 a year. Unless you're like loyal to a specific brand, or you're doing what I'm doing, you're just getting a card to get some free nights or whatever, that's fine. But generally speaking, they're not the best cards because you can oftentimes book your hotel through Amex if you really wanted to. I still don't think it's the best use of points, but if you wanted to, you can book your hotel through Amex oftentimes at a better value than you can through the hotel card itself. So it almost makes no sense to have those cards. Other than like if you're, you'd go to Marriott's like 40 times a year and maybe it makes sense, but hotel cards are decent. And then like get yourself a good grocery card, you know,
and a gas
something
card.
that's going to have and a gas card. Yeah. And usually they're sort of one and of the same, you know. Amex in Canada, we have one called the Cobalt. I don't really have one down in America yet. I haven't looked too much into it, but the one I have gives me like 5x on gas and like 4x on meals and things like that. So just stuff that you can get the highest amount of point value on your day-to-day life activity.
Yeah. So something I do for hotels, and it's not quite at the level at what you're doing for sure, but it's something that's really easy that you can start with, and it'll save you at least 10%, is I book my hotels for the most part through hotels.com, and you can still use a credit card when you're booking through hotels.com. And if you book through hotels.com and you've got an account with them, what they do is for every 10 nights, they give you 1 night for free. So it's basically like getting a 10% discount. And the free night that you get will be the average of the value of your other 10 nights. So if your first 10 nights were an average of $400 a night, you would have a $400 credit. And for me, at least, that accumulates pretty quickly. It's not like you get 1 night free. It's that you get that amount of credit free. So that $400, depending on where I'm staying, that might be worth 1.5 nights or 2 nights, or you know, whatever it might be. Yeah. And if you if you're going somewhere and you're staying, you know, for a few nights, you might be spending $1,000 or something, then I imagine that you could also put that kind of an expense through your credit card. So it's almost like you're double dipping. You're getting credit card points, but you're also getting hotels points, which is 10% saving. And it's not just a 10% saving in that they give you a free night or the equivalent of a free night for every 10 nights, but they also give you discounted prices as well. So it's almost like you're sort of triple dipping there. But again, I think what you've said is really the pinnacle of hacking for credit cards and getting points, and it's just amazing. So this is something that I'm studying closely and finally starting to work to my advantage, which, you know, to your point, should have done it much sooner. Any tips or tricks that you want to leave people with? Any final like warnings? Obviously, you know, don't go crazy and spend up large on your credit card if you can't afford to do that. But any tips or tricks just to leave folks with here today?
Yeah, definitely. You know, the warning is like, don't just go spend money just to get points. You know, one tip is cards oftentimes will offer you crazy welcome bonuses, but they'll always have like strings attached. Like the Amex Platinum gives you like $120,000 for joining, but you got to spend like $30,000 over 6 months. So just always be aware that you're hitting those targets, and those points are usually delivered right away. And my biggest tip would be like, start as soon as you can. Like, this is free money out there for you. I don't know how you want to use it, but you know, maybe it takes a few years to accumulate 100,000 points or something. That's still a free trip that you otherwise wouldn't have had, you know? So get started soon. Don't make the mistake I made. I literally wasted millions and millions and millions of points on stupid, you know, not valuable things that I wish I could have changed. So that's tens
of thousands of dollars. Those millions of points, maybe even towards the 6 figures. So, yeah. Okay, well, hey Sean, this has been awesome. Really appreciate you taking some time out. I know that this is something that we've discussed personally. It's also something that you've shared in some of our different online training programs, and is always one of the most popular presentations. So I'm sure we're going to get questions, and we can definitely follow up with that. And we will include some links in with this episode, which is going to be on thegrowthbooth.com. Navigate to episode number 69. You can also see us on YouTube, and you'll be able to again find us just by searching for The Growth Booth, episode number 69. So check that out. You'll be able to get the transcripts and a few links to some of the most popular cards that Sean has mentioned. And I would say, if you're listening to this internationally, the best thing that you can do is just do a Google search for reward cards, point cards in your country, and you're probably going to get some good information. It's not going to take you too long to find out what's available, and go ahead and do it, because it's just money that's free basically, and you can tap into it and use it for anything you want. I should say it's not really the money, it's the free access to things which would otherwise cost you a lot of money. So hey, thanks again, Sean. Really appreciate you sharing all of this with everyone here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime.
That's a wrap, guys. We will see you on the next episode of The Growth Booth. Bye for now.